Welcome to Coastal Conservative News. This is Raj Dorsami standing in for Michelle Posey and Ali Leger, who are actually right now on location in Washington, D.C., in advance of this historic inauguration. We're going to go right to them for our first segment. So, Michelle and Ali, are you there?
Yes, we're
here. We are here, Raj. We are cold, but we're
Yes.
here.
Very cold.
Well, we got two Florida ladies dealing with the cold temperatures there, but other than the temperature, I'm assuming the energy and the environment must be super hot and super excited. Is that right?
Absolutely.
You are absolutely right. Thank you so much, Raj. I know you're in the studio warm there in Florida. We are here, obviously, in D.C. ahead of the inauguration. We are having a good time. We did get some breaking news that we want to let our viewers know first thing, because some of our plans have changed now looking forward to Monday. For the inauguration, we're probably not going to be outdoors.
Right. Well, because of the Arctic blast that is currently, assaulting our country right now, the weather temperatures with the wind chill could lead to some very, very, very cold weather, some historic lows here in DC. So the president and his cabinet and his team have decided to move the swearing-in ceremony to inside the Capitol Rotunda, and they had sent out some information regarding that. He actually posted on X and I believe it was Truth, explaining his decision, saying that his job first and foremost is to protect the people of our country, and he doesn't want to see anybody hurt, injured, or to become very ill. So that was their decision to move everything inside because of the Arctic temperatures that could be here.
And I'll be honest with you, Raj, Ali and I discussed on our way here, obviously, as we got up this morning, we're praying over our nation and just kind of really asking that if there's, whether it's for security or to keep people comfortable and out of harm's way, if something needed to be changed. I know this idea was actually tossed around a couple days ago within the administration. So I'm actually glad to see it happen if this is what they think is best. It still doesn't stop the fact that January 20th is coming and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
And it doesn't stop the fact that it is the most historical event to date. So we are really excited to be here. We've met a lot of people that are also excited to be here. We still have some friends that are coming in. They're landing here in the next few hours, and it's just going to be an amazing time.
Well, there's no question that even though the president has not been sworn in, his agenda and his ideology is already being felt throughout the globe.
Yes.
And here in Florida, where our studio is, that's no exception. So do you have any updates on what the governor of Florida is doing, Governor DeSantis, because he is wanting to call a special legislative session to address the illegal, especially criminal illegal people here that are here illegally, and also to address deportation. Do you have any updates on that? Because it seems like there's a lot of contention and conflict right here in Florida about that objective.
You're right there, Raj, and that's why it's so important for us here at Coastal Conservative News to make sure that we are leading the way with reporting what's taking place, not just in our neck of the woods in Sarasota County, but in our state. When we had the mandate given by We the People on November 5th, we all understood what that was going to mean, and obviously we've heard and seen in polling that people cared about immigration, about illegal immigration, and what that's doing to our neighborhoods. So to hear that Governor Ron DeSantis was leading the way, the first governor, as I understand it, to really call a special session, get our legislators to Tallahassee to be able to implement how are we going to do this? What is it going to look like for Florida? And really lead the way in Florida. I was delighted to hear that until you hear a little bit of the pushback that's happening with those that we elected. They're part of the mandate within the Florida House and Senate. I'm not sure exactly what is causing this delay, but there seems to be a little pushback in Florida to call this special session. I think Donald Trump even went to X and thanked Ron DeSantis and said, thank you for this. Other governors need to do it. So my question to you, Ali, is do you think now that Donald Trump has put it on X, are we going to see the Florida legislators fall in line?
I would hope so, to be honest with you. They're always so worried about, MAGA, America First, other representatives and grassroots to fall in line with what they want as far as the GOP is concerned, or the RPOF is concerned, the Republican Party of Florida is concerned. So I'm wondering if the leader of our party, who happens to be the president of the United States, President Donald John Trump, right, to express his mandate, right, and have them fall in line with what he desires for our nation. We have given a mandate, like Michelle has said, and it is our responsibility to make sure that our local elected representatives, who have been elected based on that promise when they ran in this last election cycle, that they are held accountable for that.
Yes.
They're held, bound to their promise. And so that is what we're trying to give to all of you as a call to action, to make sure that you are calling your local representatives and telling them that we passed a mandate November 5th, and we want you to develop a strategic plan to implement Donald Trump's immigration
and some names that come to mind immediately, especially in our area, is State Representative James Buchanan,
yes.
Newly elected Danny Nix, our state senator Joe Gruters. You guys know who your state legislators are. We need you to really reach out. Take this Friday to reach out and let them know we want them to not only get Albrighton and other Danny Perez involved in the leadership of the Republican, or in our legislature, to get together with Governor DeSantis. Let's figure out, what does this look like for Florida? This doesn't need to be something that tears our communities apart. It shouldn't bankrupt us as a state, but we need to have a plan. And let's lead the way. When we left the state of Florida, we were driving, they literally says on the sign as you're leaving, "Thank you for visiting the free state of Florida." We lead the way in a lot of ways in Florida. This needs to be one of them. So make sure you reach out to your local elected officials.
And I also think that other governors are going to hop on board with this. I do think that Governor Abbott has put out a statement as well about implementing the deportation initiative that is going to come about. And so I'm encouraging everyone to also take an active role in their self-governance, in their own governance in their backyard, and just keep an eye out on our legislature.
Yes.
What have you heard, if anything, about the idea that the legislators that are opposing Governor DeSantis have a lot of big agricultural donors that donate to their campaign, and that this noise that they're making might be actually them trying to protect the interest of their big donors who are in the ag industry? Because a lot of the legislators that have been most vocal are in parts of Florida that have a lot of agriculture. And also, part B of that question, have you heard anything about that the Governor DeSantis is not only doing this for the good reasons that we've been discussing, but also because he wants to position himself in a competitive position with J.D. Vance in 2028, where he and Vance might be running against each other for that office. Have you heard anything along those topics about this?
Well, I want to address your first question, and the first question is about agriculture, right? And the representatives that are speaking up against the deportation special session. So my opinion on that is, you need to make sure as a representative that you are representing the people, your constituents, not those that have given money to your coffers, okay? The agricultural people, the lobbyists for agriculture, if they do not have the best interests of the people within your own backyard, right? And they don't want the deportation because they are enlisting illegal immigrants to fields, right? To pick their fields. That is a problem. It is illegal, and they should not be allowed to do that. They're not allowed to do that because it is illegal. You're violating the law. Last time I checked, Florida, right, likes to say that we are a law and order state. And if you are a representative and that is the only reason why you're backing down from having this special session, you need to be investigated, and you need to be censured from the party so that you can never run again. And you also need to be removed from your seat and primaried. Yes. That is my answer to your question.
I love that. And I'm going to just piggyback on that. Trump's coattails are always very big, and people like to jump on board, and then we like to watch and hold them accountable on how they legislate. The mandate was very clear. Implementing that is going to be very clear. We're going to watch people like Governor DeSantis, who, let's just remind everybody who maybe wasn't paying attention, that they changed the law in the state of Florida for him to run for president. He used our time and resources, whether you like it or not. It's a fact. He used time and resource that could have been dedicated to running our state to run for president.
And the legislature
so we are watching. Feel free to govern however you think you should, DeSantis and Florida legislatures, but we're watching. And with the addition of something like CCN News, we will be calling out for accountability in 2026.
Keeping the conversation on what's happening in Florida here, the governor's recent announcement about Ashley Moody to replace Senator Rubio. What are you hearing about that dramatic move?
Well, I think that Ashley Moody is an okay choice. I do think that there were better choices, as in Representative Corey Mills, who has shown his constitutional fortitude. He has shown his courage. He has shown his statesmanship for the American people. He has shown his ability to lead, right, under pressure. And I think he has a heart for Florida, obviously, right? And he has a heart for our nation. So I think he would have been the best choice to serve as a senator, because of his understanding and his acumen as far as the Constitution is concerned, and not being able to be swayed or moved through principles. He stands firm on his principles. And you can see that in every vote that he has made. His congressional record, conservative congressional record is by far one of the best. I believe it's in the upper 90s. If it's not close to 100%, it's close.
And he has come out and said that, he probably will, that he will then primary her in 2026. But I want everybody to understand, Governor DeSantis is doing what's well within his power to do.
Yes.
This is something that he can do. But there were 70 some legislators, as well as our Attorney General Ashley Moody, who signed on to endorse Governor Ron DeSantis when he was primarying President Trump during the Florida presidential primary. And so I keep my eye on that when I think of who's in his choice, in his wheelhouse to do this. Was it the best choice? I think time will tell. But again, 2026 is going to be a fun primary season.
And Floridians remember what happened in 2020. And I'm just going to leave that there.
And this is just like you said, Michelle, it's well within his power, and it's common for presiding power brokers like the governor. He's one of the most powerful governors in the country, because in part of what he did for us for the COVID debacle, and also how he very competently handled the FEMA response. Unlike other states, he made sure that the state of Florida was primary and FEMA was in a support role. So he's a very competent governor, and at the same time, a lot of these leaders want to put legacy individuals that'll continue their reach and influence in government long after they step down. So if Ashley Moody makes it, certainly she appears to be the governor's person and will be attuned to the governor's agenda, which may or may not be the Trump agenda. So really, really interesting dynamics.
Politics is played. They play musical political chairs all the time. They play political chess all the time. And so it's just up to us to make sure that we understand the process, we understand the roles and responsibilities, and we are keeping an eye out, a close eye on those that are appointed and elected, to make sure that we're able to hold them accountable.
And that's exactly why we want you to keep it locked here on CCN News. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. We actually got this information when we were en route, Raj. We stopped in South Carolina so we could send a little shout out to our viewers to let them know this was going on. And we're hearing a lot in response to this. People, this is the lovely thing.
Some like her and some are not. They're questioning.
And this is the wonderful way of independent journalism, is that we are able to have that connection with our viewers. So we want you to comment. We want you to follow. We want you to make sure that you give us your voice, because this is your channel.
There'll be more coming up from Michelle Posey and Ali Leger as they continue their stay in Washington, D.C., covering this historic inauguration event. There are changes being made, as you just heard here. Still to come on this episode, information on Trump's agenda, plus other topics that you definitely don't want to miss. We'll be back right after this break.
So Joey is our middle child. We have 3 kids. He's 13 years old, and he was born with a chromosome deletion, and he was diagnosed with autism and intellectual disability. When he was 8 years old, he was diagnosed with epilepsy, and he started having seizures almost once a week. When Vic told us about this treatment, and since he had his first treatment, he hasn't had a seizure. He's been seizure-free for over 3 months, and it's been a miracle, really.
I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to work on the level that it did, but I can say now, without a doubt, like, it really, really works. Nothing else has worked as good as this.
Right. He's been much happier. Like, he's had a lot more energy. He's just been in a positive mood, talking more.
Interacting more.
Yeah.
And just more vocal, and also very funny.
Right, and Joey will always be Joey. We love Joey the way he is. We just want him to be happy and healthy. He taught me patience, true unconditional love.
Acceptance,
yeah,
right? I
right.
mean, Joey's like an angel.
He is an angel.
What is President Trump up to? What is his agenda, his direction for the country? Well, in this episode, we're going to look at the 10 key points of the Trump agenda. And the reason we're doing this is if you're in agreement with these points, it is incumbent on you to contact your senators and your congressmen and have them make sure that they know that they need to support these items, whichever items that he's working on that you're in favor of. Because if you don't, there's a lot of people that are going to try to sabotage, slow walk, or oppose his ideas outright. So, without further delay, let's get right into it. Number 1, defeat inflation, restore economic stability by cutting wasteful federal spending and unnecessary regulations. Unleash domestic energy production, including oil, gas, and nuclear, to lower costs and reduce inflation. Secure the border to decrease the burden on housing, education, and healthcare caused by illegal immigration. Stabilize global geopolitical risks to reduce commodity prices and restore price stability. Number 2, seal the border. Complete the border wall and enhance security with advanced technology and increase law enforcement presence. Enforce strict immigration laws, including reinstating policies like Remain in Mexico. Begin the largest deportation program in U.S. history to remove illegal aliens, particularly criminals. Cut funding to sanctuary cities and prioritize merit-based legal immigration. Number 3, build the economy. Make Trump-era tax cuts permanent and eliminate taxes on tips for workers in hospitality industries. Slash regulations to promote business growth and foster innovation. Secure trade policies that protect American industries, farmers, and workers. Expand energy independence to reduce costs and strengthen domestic manufacturing. Number 4, make American dream affordable. So, lower housing costs by reducing inflation and increasing home construction on federal lands. Make higher education more accessible with affordable alternatives to traditional 4-year degrees. Increase transparency and competition in healthcare to lower costs for families. Reduce the cost of everyday goods through energy policies and regulatory reforms. Number 5, protect workers and farmers. Implement tariffs to counter unfair trade practices and prioritize domestic production. Phase out reliance on China for essential goods and revoke its most favored nation status. Support American farmers and manufacturers by bringing critical supply chains back to the United States. Promote Buy American, Hire American policies for federal contracts and for projects. Number 6, protect seniors, preserve and strengthen Social Security and Medicare without cuts or increases in retirement age. Shift resources to support at-home care for seniors, including tax credits for family caregivers. Promote healthy living with chronic disease prevention and expanded accessibility to primary care. Combat inflation and ensure medical and Social Security funding remains solvent for future generations. Number 7, fix education. Restore parental rights in education and ensure schools are free from political and ideological indoctrination. Support universal school choice, including homeschooling, and alternative education models. Focus on practical education that prepares students for well-paying jobs and meaningful careers. Promote patriotic civics education and protect the right to pray and read the Bible in school. Number 8, renew civilization strength by strengthening the families by promoting policies that support marriage, childhood, and working parents. Rebuild cities with law and order, addressing homelessness and defending police departments. Support veterans with improved health care, housing, and job training programs. Celebrate American history and value through civic projects and national celebrations. Number 9, reform government. End the weaponization of government by holding accountable those who misuse power for political purposes. Protect free speech by banning government collusion with tech companies to censor lawful opinions. Uphold election integrity with voter ID, paper ballots, and same-day voting requirements. Defend religious liberty with the federal task force to combat anti-Christian discrimination. And number 10, peace through strength. Rebuild the military with modern technology, increase troop pay, and better equipment. Counter China's growing influence and maintain strong alliances with nations like Israel. Strengthen the U.S. industrial base to ensure self-reliance for defense-critical industries. Secure borders to stop drug cartels and human trafficking, deploying the military if necessary. Now, to get your own copy of this information, the president has made this information available, and you can see the link right here on the screen. I'll just tell it to you as well for those of you that are watching this, listening to this as a podcast on audio. It's going to be donaldjtrump.com/agenda 47. Now, the specific list with the 10 items is also made public, and that is at www.donaldjtrump.com/platform. Let's highlight just a few of these areas. Government downsizing and streamlining. Trump aims to reduce the size and scope of the federal government, potentially leading to significant changes in various agencies and departments. Healthcare and personal freedom. The administration plans to decrease government involvement in healthcare decisions, giving individuals more control over their medical choices. Economic policy. Trump's policies are expected to reduce government intervention in financial matters, potentially leading to tax cuts or changes in financial regulation. Given the ambitious nature of these plans, you can just anticipate, if you are in agreement with these ideas, that there's going to be a massive amount of resistance to these ideas, primarily by those politicians and bureaucrats that benefit from keeping things the status quo. So it's highly important that if you are in favor of these, that you contact your congressmen and women and ask them to back Trump's cabinet nominees, because they will face strong opposition, and in particular have these congressmen and women pass legislation that are in favor of this governmental structure and restructuring of the American infrastructure in the favor of people's individual freedoms. Contact your senators directly. You can see a link here on how to do that. Thanks for watching. Back to you, Michelle and Ali.
Hi guys, welcome to the Political Pulse here on CCN. This is Ali. We're here together in Washington D.C. But we wanted to bring to you something that took place. Yesterday it was breaking news, and that is what took place in Georgia, in the state Capitol building.
Oh my gosh, there was a representative who was duly elected, was assaulted and removed from attending a meeting where he had essentially a vote, right?
Yes.
I don't understand why we have this kind of divide here within the GOP. It seems like it's not just affecting those of us in Florida. It's not affecting those in South Carolina. It's affecting everyone everywhere across the nation,
right,
where MAGA or America First representatives or grassroots organizations are being targeted by elite GOP.
And we hear about this throughout the country, because as soon as we brought some stories to light about what's happening within the Florida GOP under the leadership of Evan Power and Bill Helmuth, and some of the people that are being cast out of the Republican Party of Florida, your grassroots conservatives, mostly MAGA, that are being cast out and cast aside and being told we don't want you here. As soon as we brought a light to that, people across the country have been reaching out saying it's happening in their GOP.
And now, right now, we're noticing how insane this is. It's like they're acting like the other side, where if you do not agree and you do not bend the knee and you do not kiss the ring, we are not allowing you to do your job, the job that you are duly elected to do, which is a constitutional violation. You are disenfranchising the voters that have voted for these representatives. And the fact that this man, Senator Colton Moore from Georgia, was forcibly removed, right, and assaulted from going into a committee hearing where he was going to place a vote is problematic.
And he was arrested. It is Speaker John Burns from Georgia that had this done to him. So obviously it's caught the attention of Trump, which I think is wonderful, because Trump needs to understand that in his own state that he resides in Florida, there are some shenanigans happening within the leadership of the Florida GOP, which brings me to our guest that we have on here. He is the duly elected state committee man from Manatee County. His name is Trent Wayman. Hi, Trent. Welcome to CCN. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, ladies. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, so we obviously we're remote interviewing you. We understand you are inside because you're in Texas right now, right, visiting somebody. So you're warm where you're at least. I know Texas has cold weather today too.
Yep. I'm in Austin. Yep.
In Austin. So we met up with you last weekend at the Republican Party of Florida election, their meeting where they were going to elect their chair. And I was under the impression that you, because you're an elected state committee man, you would go in and you would have a vote. And so as we're out there sort of with all the other people who are trying to be kicked out of the GOP, you came out and I said, why aren't you inside voting? Well, you didn't get a chance to do that. Explain to me a little bit about what's happening specifically in Manatee County with regard to the Florida GOP.
Yeah, so going back to last August, we won most of our grassroots candidates won their elections. And shortly after that, the RPOF came in and shut down our REC. And then at the annual meeting last weekend, like you said, we weren't allowed to vote, but we were also not allowed to participate in any of the actual business. We were told that we could, go to the trainings and the meetings and stuff, but we couldn't participate.
And what is their reasoning for that?
So it's interesting. The reasons that they give are not really, I don't believe they're the real reasons. In my opinion, the real reason is the power. The power of the party lies at the top, which it shouldn't be. The political party is set up just like representative form of government. It should be from the grassroots up. And the grassroots in the party is the voter. Each voter in each precinct is represented by a precinct committeeman and a precinct committeewoman. Those people go to the county party and they represent the voters there. The county party also has a state committeeman and a state committeewoman, which is myself and Jackie Heisey from Manatee County. We were elected by the people of the county. There's also the chair of the party. Those three people go up to the state to do the business of the county. They're supposed to represent the county. Within the state, you've got 201 people based on those three people from each county in 67 counties. There's also a national committeeman and a national committeewoman that represent. And then you've got the elected officials and some appointees. So in total, it's like 250 people. Each congressional district in Florida has a caucus that meets at the party.
Right.
Each caucus has a chairman, and each one of those chairmen go to the annual or the quarterly executive meetings, and they do the voting. So there's a total of 34 people that actually run the party for the whole state of Florida. So that's where the power is at. And by taking us out of that equation, they took out a MAGA voice from the party, from making those decisions.
And I want to make sure that our viewers here at Coastal Conservative News understand that takes out MAGA voters. Now, we just talked in a previous segment with Raj Dorsami
about making sure the mandate is upheld.
But
how do you do that if you don't have people within the state party that is able to put forth those votes, right? Those people that are going to implement the mandate. If you remove that from the party, then what do you have? You're left with elitists.
Yeah.
Right?
One other thing I want to mention real quick is in our caucus, CD16, it's Hillsborough County or part of Hillsborough County and Manatee County. There are 6 people that should be involved in that, plus the national committee woman, because she lives in Manatee County, and Vern Buchanan, who is the CD16 representative for the federal level. So that's a total of 8 people that should have been there. The rules for who's eligible to run for the caucus chair and the vice chair are the people that live in that CD16. The only 2 people that live in CD16 were Jackie and myself. So by default, we would have been the chair and the vice chair of that party. So it would have been both of us representing MAGA voice at the executive board meetings, and they didn't want that. That's my opinion.
Well, and then what I find to be very interesting also is that there's a representative that was pushed out of the party. He was removed from all his committees. He was pushed out of the party. None of the bills that actually aimed to do the things that they said that they were going to do, like removing obscenities from our laws when it came to what's in our public schools. Representative Beltran was removed as a representative from that specific area. And I find that very interesting that not only was he removed, but also you and your committee woman were also removed. And then you guys no longer have strong MAGA representation there and no longer have strong America First representation in that area. So essentially, those that put forth the mandate, that voted for that mandate, are disenfranchised from the grand old party. I'm not pleasantly frustrated. And I say pleasantly frustrated because we have a plan on how to fix this, but it's going to require some fortitude and some courage and some getting a little bit of uncomfortable.
Yes.
In order for us to change that moving forward. But
Trent, if our viewers watching want to reach out to you to either know more or to be able to further support what you and Jackie are taking on there in Manatee County, where can people reach you? Are you on social media? Do you have email that they can reach out to you?
I'm on Facebook and on X, formerly known as Twitter. My handle is @Wayminator with an I, so it's WAYMINATOR. But more importantly, you should follow Under the Red Wave on X, because that's been actually tracking a lot of this stuff that's going on. I've seen stuff on there for Florida. I've seen stuff on there from Texas. I saw the Georgia thing on there the other day. I think they're following it all around the country. So I would definitely recommend following that account.
Absolutely. That's
make sure
Under the Red Wave.
Make sure when you follow the accounts, you go up to the alerts and set the alerts on so that you see that stuff.
And we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you here, even at Coastal Conservative News. Contact at Coastal Conservative News or go on to social media and follow at Under the Red Wave. Make sure you comment. Let us know what's going on in your local GOP. Trent, this has just begun. So thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you.
Imagine rewinding to 2020.
Parents obviously can equip their kid to go to school however they want, but there shouldn't be any coercive mandates.
Local school board members made a firm decision enforcing mandates that disregarded the voices of concerned parents.
This virus is going after our young children.
The emergency school board meeting in Sarasota dissolved into chaos as the board discussed mandating masks for students, which ultimately passed tonight.
Refusing to back down, thousands gathered at the Hollow, determined to secure exemptions for their kids. With the support of dedicated doctors, they navigated every path to shield their children from mandates. Yet, despite these united efforts, a darker challenge surfaced. Doctors who issued exemptions became targets, some even losing their jobs for standing by their convictions. That's when the decision was made, a bold new vision to create a sanctuary for children's health and a support system for parents' rights. Thus, We the People Health and Wellness Center was born, founded on a mission to serve, to support, and to protect. This vision has since expanded, aligning with the Make America Healthy Again movement and incorporating the most advanced treatment modalities. Additionally, We the People Health and Wellness Center has launched a series of transformative community-based events, each featuring a trusted expert. In December, Dr. Joseph Ladapo spoke about his new book to a packed audience. Next, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, in an intimate lunch and learn. Still to come, Dr. Pierre Corey, Dr. Brian Artis, plus others. The new management, doctors, and staff of We the People Health and Wellness Center stand with you, ensuring that no parent will ever have to face medical tyranny alone again. We are here to empower, to inform, and to support you for a healthier community.
first thing I noticed was that there were no long lines to get into the meeting. Now that is thanks to the new public comment sign up online option, available 24 hours to community members, 24 hours in advance of a Sarasota County School Board meeting. So the meeting began with a flag salute by Booker High School ROTC. Student Representative Sarah Suarez Sarmiento, who's also from Booker, led us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Sarasota County School Board took time to celebrate the arts through a guitar trio from Riverview High School. There was much to celebrate as Teacher of the Year, Kelly Roselle of Venice High School was named the 2025 Sarasota County Teacher of the Year.
Thank you. I really, truly am honored and grateful to represent Sarasota County.
Many student athletes were also recognized.
We've come together to recognize the amazing state championship accomplishments of the Sarasota High girls golf team and the Riverview High girls swimming team. I would like to thank Superintendent Connor, the school board, Attorney Duggan for realizing the importance of recognizing these great student athletes. These fine student athletes exhibit the very characteristics that we as a district desire for all of our students, which is to be the best citizens, students, and then in our case, athletes they can possibly be.
Our next is going to be our school spotlight. Today's special presentation is spotlighting Heron Creek Middle School. I would like to invite proud principal Mrs. Christine Lawrence to the podium.
Christine Lawrence, principal of Heron Creek Middle School. We are now an A-rated school. The last time has been 12 years, so I'm very proud of my staff.
I'm public education for over 50 years, and this is the first time I ever remember a public hearing on the adoption of textbooks. In my experience, textbook selection was always left to professionals, AKA teachers.
The textbooks, science textbooks that were approved by the state, I did not realize that we had chosen one, or books, and so I have not seen the books that we chose.
I want to thank our teachers for spending many hours evaluating science textbooks for adoption by the Sarasota School District.
Seeing that, we'll go ahead and move into school board comments.
That a second meeting in South County in Northport, I think, is desperately needed.
Imperative that the board kind of signal to the superintendent what direction and how much information, because it is going to spawn a lot of reaction.
To that, when we have this conversation, is I'd love to hear from the community, from parents especially, you know, what sounds appropriate to them, and just make sure that their voices are also heard on the issue.
It's not if the next mass school shooting will happen, it'll be when and where will it be. And we need to make sure we are as diligent as always here at Sarasota County. We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can.
And then recently,
make sure that,
as of last Friday, or Thursday, the state released graduation rates for last year. And congratulations to Sarasota County reaching a record-breaking 92.5% graduation rate. To the testament of all of our...
The next school board meeting for Sarasota County is on Tuesday, February 18th at 6 p.m. at 1960 Landings Boulevard in Sarasota. You can always visit www.sarasotacountyschools.net for more information.
good to see you too. Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you. Guys, we are here at Foundation Church in Northport with Hope Lackley. Hope is Pastor Tom's wife, and you do a lot here. I mean, you're very involved.
I am involved. I love it.
Love it. I believe she has a studio. I don't know if you're familiar with the Hope Hotline, but we're going to see her studio because you have your own podcast.
I do. I love my podcast.
Awesome. This is a beautiful studio. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I have studio envy right now. This is gorgeous.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I share this with Tom, my husband, who also has his own podcast, and they're ready to kick us out.
And he wants his own space.
Yeah, we are gladly willing to take our own space.
To take your own space.
Yeah, we'd happy to be moved. But
this is beautiful. What made you want to do a podcast? Because I know it's hard enough when you're somebody who's in the faith community to really want to talk about certain topics. A lot of churches don't want to.
Yep.
You just take on all of the topics on your podcast.
Yeah.
What made you want to do that?
So ours aren't really topics specifically. What happens is my podcast is based on questions. So our watchers send in their questions, and they can be anywhere from like the naughty word C word COVID and being jabbed, all the way to like bedroom questions.
Yes.
Like it's a gamut.
And I was going to ask you, what's one of the off the wall things that you've had, and you're like, I've got to answer this now.
Well, the naughty marriage ones, which I found to be great. I mean, I love it because for me, nothing's off the table.
Yeah.
One is how far is too far in the bedroom to go for a husband and a wife.
Yeah.
That was fun, and my husband was here for that one. So
I
he
love
was
that.
on that, and I didn't really answer the question. He did. So it was pretty far out there.
Well, and myself, and I'm thinking our audience too, I would love, some of the times that I've tuned in and heard you just be able to talk about relationships, we don't do that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I feel it in the faith community.
Yeah.
We don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's an absence of a voice, it's like, then the enemy kind of takes over the conversation. So I love that you're
100%. There's such thing as a healthy marriage, healthy parenting, healthy home life, like balance in all things. Jobs to like spiritually speaking, what is your calling?
Right.
What does God want for you?
From you, yeah.
As far as how far will God take you? He'll take you as far as you want to go. Right. Financially, spiritually, job, the whole thing. And a lot of people don't even know the promises that are out there for them to just grab and take hold of.
That's
and
right.
I love that we have the opportunity to do that for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Foundation Church is my home church. I'm spoiled. I get to call you home.
Yeah.
But
you're one of my girls.
I know. But
I
for
love it.
people who don't know, I mean, you're located in the Northport community.
Yeah.
Northport is booming. It's thriving. We are
It's crazy.
the workhorse of Sarasota County, and
Yeah.
we are the place where all the young families tend to go to. So tell us a little bit about what Foundation Church offers, because I think they really have something for everybody.
Well, we're very, very different than most of the churches in the community, and I say that humbly, but I also say that proudly. One of the reasons is because the age range for people who attend here are from very young singles all the way to the more mature, like myself. I think we have like 80-something-year-olds that like they act like the teenagers, and
They're
some
on
of
their
them
feet,
don't.
worshiping and praising, jumping, dancing. I love
Yeah, they understand what all God has for them. They're grabbing hold of it. The other thing is where we're very different is there is not one, like this podcast, there's not one topic that's not discussed from the pulpit. From biblically, the Word. The Word is full of promises. It's full of do's and do nots.
Yeah.
So we don't shape the message. My husband never shapes the message or the sermons. First of all, he writes his own messages, which is very unusual today because most people are pulling them off the internet.
Yep.
So he writes all of his own messages every week. God gives him a download of what needs to be talked about. But the thing is another thing that's never discussed are political topics like abortion. Abortion is huge. We're losing millions of babies every year, and nobody's talking about it. Right. And we need to be fighting for those babies' rights. From transgender, what our kids in school are having to go through with that indoctrination, to homosexuality, to fornication is huge, and people act like homosexuality is the big no, you know?
Like there's some kind of a ladder of sin that and,
Right.
and some are higher than the others. I'll tell you, just as somebody who's a mom of young adults, what I've most appreciated here at Foundation Church is that my kids don't want to necessarily hear my opinion of things all the time, but
Yeah.
when you sit them in that pew, in that aisle, and they can hear somebody strong, a strong male voice like Pastor Tom and yourself, plus wonderful worship music.
Oh yeah.
That conviction and that that spirit flows, and they come out of the message with their own understanding. That God spoke directly to them. It's like if you have those young adult kids and you really want to pull them back on the right track, or maybe they are a little bit of, you know, the wayward son or daughter, bring them in here. There's something for them, but they're not going to sugarcoat it. And I personally don't want to be fed more sugar.
Yeah.
We don't need it anymore.
Well,
we need a place
dessert.
to
I mean, at some point, you can only eat so much dessert.
Yeah.
And you really need to be feeding yourself. Paul talks about milk. At some point, a baby needs to get off milk, and they need the meat.
Mm.
And I find there's a lot of meat in the message.
Yeah.
But I will say, what's really wonderful is, like you were saying, for me, every single time you come into church, you should be challenged to change.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable in where you're going, that's not the right place. You should be challenged to change from your worship. You should be challenged in your worship to, you know, because it says the rocks will cry out if we do not worship him.
Right.
So you should be challenged to worship him to a greater level and a higher level, but also in your walk. It's so funny because there's a young person that wanted to be involved in ministry at a high level leadership, and the Lord spoke to them. And this is somebody who's kind of new to our church. The Lord spoke to them and said, "You're not ready.
Yep.
You need to wait." Most people do not. They're not taught that. They're not. They won't. How do I say? They won't succumb to that.
Yeah.
But here at the church, they know that their time will come.
Yes.
They need to get some things in order, and then, you know, take off from there. But if you're not challenged in godly areas of character or just living by His word, then anybody's free to do whatever they want, and that's not good.
That's so true. Foundation Church is a place I think y'all should check out every Sunday. The service starts at 10 a.m. We have a wonderful worship service. I always felt like, honestly, Hope, when I would go to other churches, and there's something out there probably for everybody, but when I would go to other churches, I would just get started and feel that movement, and it was like time to sit down.
Oh yeah.
And I used to go, oh man.
Because because the rule of thumb is with what's being taught in the churches so that they grow is it's no more than 20 minutes of worship. It's usually between 15 to 20, and there's only room for like 3 songs.
Yes.
Yep. So
it's the third one. I'm just getting warmed up, and that's usually when everybody's dancing in the aisles. Here.
Yeah,
It's so much fun.
Yeah, that rule of thumb is 3 songs, and then you're done. That's not here.
We're spoiled to have you here in Northport, so I wanted to thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. Tell our viewers where they can tune into the Hope Hotline.
Okay, so the Hope Hotline, you can go on Facebook, which not big fans of. We're trying to get off. The Rumble is really our key because Facebook and YouTube have basically, what is it? The algorithms have kicked us off.
We're so proud of you.
To be banned is a badge of honor, to be perfectly honest with you. So Facebook, go to Hope Hotline, the Hope Hotline, same with YouTube, but mainly go to Rumble. Rumble's the key because we're never banned.
That's wonderful. That's where we are too. Thank you so much for joining us on
got
Coastal
it.
Conservative News.
My
Guys, we'll
pleasure.
check you next time.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Nurse George. So I have a question for you. With traveling going on in the holidays, what can people do to strengthen their immune system?
Well, basically what the doctors and the studies have found is vitamin D3. Make sure that your level is proper and make sure you take the proper amount of D3 needed. Also vitamin C. Make sure that you are taking those pills before. What I would also add before traveling is proper hydration. Vitamin C is very important to increase the immune system. What I would do is make sure you're exercising and moving your muscles. That's pretty much the thing is gonna keep your stress as low as possible.